In Kansas and Missouri, the war between the states started long before Fort Sumter. I became intrigued by the fact that there was such a huge story waiting to be told in a great novel. In fact, it took 2 novels to really tell the story: Under a Bloody Flag and Under a Black Flag. Stephen Douglas's Kansas-Nebraska Act caused those 2 territories to vote on the issue of whether they would be admitted to the Union as free or slave states. The Missouri Compromise earlier defined what these territories would be, leaving no room for conflict. With the new law, hundreds of people from all over rushed into Kansas to set up claims, many of them no more than a few sticks thrown on a plot of land, just to give them the right to vote on the issue. It created an atmosphere that degenerated from fiery town meetings to gunfights and lynchings. Some of the people just came to settle Kansas, but the majority had firmly held beliefs they were willing to back up with force. The territory came to be known as Bloody Kansas, with good reason. Many Kansas historians consider the Battle of Blackjack, a conflict between John Brown's militia and that of Henry Clay Pate, to be the first battle of the war. It happened on June 6, 1856. John Brown was perhaps the most complex of all the real-life characters who played a part in the sectional violence that I had to try and capture with a pen. Seen by one side as a martyr and by the other as a 19th century terrorist, he was definitely the most difficult. He would risk his life to save a runaway slave, but didn't hesitate to kill innocent men and boys. As the conflict begins, my fictional characters are drawn into it. Daniel Fitzgerald, a Southerner who tries to settle Kansas and leave behind his tormented Louisiana roots, finds that in Kansas you had to take sides or die. Taking sides doesn't lessen the chances of a violent death. It just determines who's going to try and kill you. For Massachusetts-born Rebecca Siles, who comes to Kansas to ensure freedom for slaves, the choice is easy. Or is it? When she meets Daniel, she's forced to take a new look at all the ideas she took for granted. Daniel's half-brother and former slave, Andre, knows his first loyalty belongs to his friends and family, not a lofty ideal. But he can't sit by and do nothing when injustice stares him in the face. They are thrown together as Kansas becomes a battleground, with the city of Lawrence at its center. Most people know of Quantrell's raid on Lawrence, but few know how many times it saw bloodshed on its streets and its buildings go up in flames. And then there is James Lane, murderer, senator, womanizer, rapist and thief, leader of the Jayhawkers, and close friend of Abraham Lincoln. Could I have created a better fictional villain? I think not. You will find many familiar historical personages in the pages of these books. Jeb Stuart and Robert E. Lee, who were involved with John Brown long before the war. You meet them first as Union officers, dealing with the carnage caused by Brown. Joseph Shelby, the Missouri planter turned soldier, who was the only Confederate general who never surrendered. Harriet Tubman, known as the Moses of her people for her heroic efforts to lead slaves to freedom. You'll learn a few new things about this remarkable woman in these books. Abraham Lincoln, who many people do not know, actually campaigned in Kansas Territory before it became a state. William Clark Quantrell, perhaps the most enigmatic of all the guerrilla fighters. Commissioned as a captain by the Confederacy, but branded an outlaw by Union forces. He is painted as the devil himself by those who hated him, but dearly loved by the citizens of Missouri who looked on him as a protector from tyranny. Frank and Jesse James and Cole Younger did not start out to be outlaws. They were thrust into this bloody conflict as teens. Given few options after the war, it's not surprising they turned to banditry. Thomas Ewing, foster brother and brother-in-law of General Sherman, who issued the infamous Order No. 11. Even today, the 3.5 counties he ordered declamated are known as the Burnt District. Cole Younger's mother, Bathsheba, and their family were directly affected by that order. Many people are not aware that Cole's mother was forced by Jayhawkers to burn her own home and flee Cass County, even though she was quite ill at the time. General Kirby Smith, commander of the Trans-Mississippi District Forces, became almost an independent ruler as the war drew to a close. There are so many unknown but real people, such as the Crawford family, hotelier Nathan Stone and his daughter Lydia, and many others who were a part in shaping this nation into what it is today. You will never look at any of them as just characters in a history book again. These are historical novels unlike any you have ever read before. They are a blend of history, action, and romance. Facts that read like fiction, and fiction that could have been fact. It's a story of a time that changed the nation and a handful of people who lived and died in our nation's most colorful era.